Hi everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and we are back again to do what we do best here on this channel, which is of course to talk about a Star Trek book. Yes, we are in a very good position here too because we have the very newest Star Trek book to talk about. Typically we're talking about books from 50, 25, 15 years ago, stuff like that, right? But no, we have a book that is literally, like a month old or whatever, less than a month old. Of course, we are talking about New York Times best-selling author Dayton Ward's Star Trek Picard, To Define Fate. Sorry, just making faces for the thumbnail, right? Anyway, did I say define? Defy. If I said define, I'm sorry. To Defy Fate. And, of course, this is a... Well, I love this, too, because this is the first Picard novel here, which gives us some kind of look into what happens after Picard Season 3. And it's actually kind of a cheat in that way. It is set in the time after they kind of, defeat the Changeling threat, but before Seven, takes command of the Enterprise. If I'm spoiling Picard Season 3 for people, I'm sorry. I guess, I don't, you shouldn't be watching this then, right? No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, this was a very fun book, but, before we get into all that, let's get into the inside cover here. Because, it says here, is reality itself under attack? 2401, just weeks after defeating a devastating joint attack by rogue changelings and remnants of the Borg Collective, Starfleet and the Federation face a long period of recovery that requires replacing lost personnel and ships. While touring the USS Titan A, which is just beginning an extensive repair and refit process that will take nearly a year to complete, newly promoted Captain, 7 of 9, and her first officer, Commander Raffi Musiker, experience a bizarre temporal event that renders them both unconscious and sends Seven into a deep coma. Man, they are telling a lot here. Jeez. I'm reading the book. In the aftermath of this inexplicable attack, Admiral Jean-Luc Picard and Beverly Crusher are surprised by the appearance of Crusher's son, Wesley, now a traveler, capable of crossing all of space and time. He warns them that forces he cannot identify are working to disrupt time for unknown and potentially catastrophic reasons. Ooh. Reality as they know it is in jeopardy, and despite their initial best efforts, the effects are not contained, but instead continue to escalate. Picard, Crusher, and Musiker join Wesley in hunting through time to stop whoever or whatever seems hell-bent on rewriting history. But what is their unknown adversary's ultimate objective? Left unchecked, that objective might well erase from existence those Picard and his friends hold most dear. Who could justify attempting to defy fate itself? Dayton Ward is a New York Times best-selling author or co-author of more than 40 novels and novellas, often with his best friend Kevin Dillmore. His short fiction has appeared in more than 30 anthologies. He's written for magazines such as NCO Journal, Kansas City Voices, Famous Monsters of Filmland, Star Trek Magazine, and Star Trek Communicator, as well as websites Tor.com, StarTrek.com, Sci-Fi.com, a native of Tampa, Florida. He currently lives with his family in Kansas City, Missouri. Visit him on the web at DaytonWard.com. I will skip reading the back. It's just an excerpt from, a particularly exciting chapter of the book. But we'll get into that later. But I will read the first line. This is Admiral Pulaski. All hands report to evacuation stations. Whoa! Okay. Anyway, before we get into the book some more as far as actually what's going on in the book here, let's go ahead and look at the cover. I like the cover. I'm happy that they went with this. They didn't do a cheap photo cover. We do have an actual artist that we can credit here named Callum Seymour, who's an artist out of the UK. You can look him up. And I do enjoy this cover quite a bit. And as you can see, featured first and foremost here is Wesley Crusher, for good reason too, right? This is a Wesley Crusher centric book, which is fantastic. But again, one more thing we have to do before we get into the book itself is look at what we've got here, and it is just plain black, oh, with some nice gold here. And again, man, hardcovers, right? They take up so much space. They're huge. They're not easy to carry around with you when you're reading. But when it's the only option, other than an ebook for you to get when you want to read the newest Star Trek book, what are you going to do, right? And it does come in also at $30. I mean, $30, that's a lot these days. I mean, that can get you like a little bit of gas, I mean, no. But anyway, I think you get the ebook for $15, and again, an ebook for $15. So yeah, I would get the printed version myself. But again, I'm Josh with Talk About Trek, and I read and talk about Star Trek books. So for me, getting this is fine, perfectly fine, and actually very excited to put it up on the shelf when we're done talking today, because it's, Picard has its kind of own special section right here in the collection. And, we're going to talk about that collection soon, too, don't worry. And I kind of do like having all of these big hardcovers of Picard, and then also Strange New Worlds too, because they do just look very nice up there on the shelf. So, anyway, enough about how the book looks and what's written on the outside of the book. Let's talk about the actual book itself. And I tell you what, I am going to put the book down. We will put the book down until a later time when we'll pick it up again. We took some notes. And I tried to do decent notes. And one of the things that I'll point out here is, man, you get a lot of, and this is, I love this in the Star Trek book, episode homework, right? Where you're reading the book, and then there's a particular part in the book that calls back or, harkens to an episode, right? And then you want to go and you want to watch that episode, right? And that's exactly what happens here. So this is okay, first off, again, before we get into the section where we just kind of go off the rails, go spoiler crazy, we will just give our basic opinion on the book, and that it is exactly what they should do. I mean, honestly, it would be a perfect series, right? Because it is the continuation of what Wesley Crusher came to be, right? And you get to see that, of course, it starts out in TNG, right? He leaves TNG, he leaves it with the Traveler, he is set to begin this journey, right? And then from there, we next see kind of where this journey went, I guess, in Star Trek itself, in Picard Season 2 at the end, right? Where he pops up to recruit Corey into the, into his kind of group, right? And then, wait, did I get the timing wrong here? I don't think I did. And then finally in Prodigy Season 2, where we really get to see the whole kind of like Traveler Wesley Crusher in his full form, right? And if you haven't watched that is just fantastic. It is fantastic Star Trek, first off, and it is not only just well done Star Trek, well done animation, it's a continuation of his story, continuation of Voyager. This is not a video about Prodigy, don't get into that right now, Josh, but I'm just saying. So again, I'm just drawing upon all these sources because this book takes Wesley Crusher and turns him into this, like, time agent. This is what we wanted to see. He's going to, he's doing his job as a traveler, as kind of this agent of this group to kind of make sure that the timeline is right. And it's just awesome to see, right? And then they throw in, of course, the characters from Star Trek Picard. And I will say, it is definitely a little bit light on 7 of 9. And, for me, of course, that's always going to be a downside, because 7 of 9 is fantastic. But I see there was a story kind of purpose for the reason that she wasn't the focus here, right? But you do have, of course, Picard and Crusher. Raffi plays a big part in this as well, and there are a very large amount of very fun kind of surprise guests that pop up throughout the book too. And I guess not only is it like there's multiple different people that you're like, well, I didn't expect this person to be showing up in the book. There's also like just multiple events, right? And that's what you can do, and that's what's kind of a fun thing to do with a time travel book, is that you can include in your book some of the like the bigger events, right? And then rewrite them. Rewrite them in a new way, a parallel, a splinter timeline, something has happened. And for me, okay, one more little side note here before we continue on. TNG episode parallels, right? Worf gets basically a split between all these different quantum realities. Thousands and thousands of them, right, at the end, right? And you get to see all of these different versions of the Enterprise, different versions of how things could have happened. Awesome episode. Fantastic costumes in that episode. Just seriously, go back and look. Just watch everything that's going on. But it just brings to mind this huge world that is out there, which this book touches upon, of the Star Trek and its different realities, and then the kind of the watching of all of that to make sure that things go right, and that's part of what he is doing, what part he is a part of at this point in the thing. So, hi, what can I do for you?
One little thing.
Yes.
Deadwalk is officially the easiest main level
All right.
in the game.
Well, that's awesome. Good luck.
76%.
76. He's on his way to 100% here, guys. So anyway, again, for me, it is what I would love to see as, and again, I can't ever see him trying to do it as an actual live action series, but imagine an animated series that followed Wesley Crusher and his kind of band of traveler agents as they went to different events, different time periods, different realities within Star Trek. They kind of touched upon this in Lower Decks at the end with the different reality. I'm getting distracted again. Star Trek Picard to Defy Fate by Dayton Ward was super fun. It was a fun ride from beginning to end. I loved the callbacks. I loved all the little cameos that popped up. And I especially loved just seeing kind of Wesley Crusher used to his full potential, right? Because I feel like, again, a character that they just gave this huge, I don't know, this huge job to in TNG, right? Like they sent him off to become a freaking traveler of all space and time, and it was good to see that they did follow up on that in Picard and Prodigy, and now finally we have kind of the culmination of all of that here with To Defy Fate. So if you are a Wesley Crusher fan, get into it for sure. You are not going to be disappointed, right? It's a fun ride from beginning to end, as I said. And now we can get into spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, and which is completely understandable, you can go ahead and exit this video now, and I would invite you to go and watch one of my older videos, perhaps one where I open some toys, or rant about other Star Trek related things. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and slam that notification bell. Why'd I give a thumbs down? Don't do that. Give me up. I'm kidding. I don't even know why I say these things normally. I don't say those things, but sometimes it's just kind of fun to say the YouTube things that you say. First off, okay. Dayton Ward was like, okay, how many callbacks and things can I possibly fit into this book? And decided, well, I can fit all of them into it. I'm not going to make this the typical, let me tell you about the whole plot of the book from A to Z. because I just don't want to do that right now, to be honest with you. What I do want to do is just give you guys. I'm going to give you guys like um, just like the shorter version of it, right? And I want to hit the high points. So basically, what you have here is there is someone who is trying to change history, right? It turns out to be a member of Wesley Crusher's group, right? And they are using a Metron child to somehow kind of mess with history. Now, if you don't remember the Metrons, they had a kind of a small part in TOS in one episode, The Arena. They were the ones that forced Kirk and the Gorn to fight, and then they came back in Strange New Worlds, I think, as well. But basically, all powerful race, right? They can do anything, and they choose kind of mostly not to interfere. So she's using this boy to somehow change the past, and they don't kind of let on right at the beginning what they're going to do. And then the story jumps over to Raffi and Seven. And again, she is getting ready to take command. She's a captain now, yes. And we all know how that turns out, right? But she's taking kind of like an initial walking tour of the Enterprise when a temporal event happens. And all of a sudden, she's on the bridge, but we've got Captain Shaw back alive. And they're under attack by Romulans. A portal opens up, they're blasted with some kind of gun, Seven gets knocked into a coma, and the adventure begins. And basically what happens is Raffi and Picard are kind of drawn in, and of course Dr. Crusher as well, drawn into this by Wesley, because they are the ones who are kind of almost like targeted, it seems. Like the events in history that are being changed are targeting them, right? And again, he did a great job here too of bringing in all of like kind of like the fun little events that you definitely want to read about again, and then you want to see, well, maybe what if this happened, what if that happened, and that's exactly what he does in this book. So you have him bringing back things like the initial battle against the Borg in the Best of Both Worlds, and what if a little change happens and Picard doesn't survive that battle, and that's something that this agent changes in the past to kind of try to affect things, positively for her. And another one that they do, and I love this as well, was a callback to, what is it, In the Pale Moonlight, where basically where Sisko and Garrick bring the Romulans into the war. What if that message that Sisko recorded at the end wasn't deleted? What if it was transmitted? And kind of like what the fallout from that. And then you have these interesting different spots where they show, what happens if that happens, and what happens if that happens. And one of the most interesting things I thought too was how they followed through with, if Picard died at that point in Best of Both Worlds, how then did the second Borg invasion play out? And that's like, so these are like the three big points in history they kind of drive the story to, which is awesome, because again, you have this new story, but then you're taking these old incredible Star Trek events and kind of inserting this story into them. So I love how he did that. I can't believe, and look, I almost feel like he must be a Star Trek fan of my same frame of mind, because he brought back, what's the guy's name? Mestral from Carbon Creek. Now, if you remember the Enterprise episode Carbon Creek, the three Vulcans crash landed, in like I think it was the 1990s, maybe? What was it? No, it was like the 1960s, I think, yeah. But anyway, one of them decided to stay on Earth. Eventually, he was picked up by the Aegis, which is this group of, travelers and agents, and became a kind of, a watcher of history, right? To make sure and to do, to a lesser extent, what Wesley did. And I love the fact that they brought this guy back. First off, I love that character, I love that episode, and I love that they brought him back for this book. Other notable names, of course, we had, I think, Jellicoe, Shelby popped up, Pulaski popped up. We had, oh, of course, Guinan, Kovacs from Discovery, who we found out later was Daniels from Enterprise, Corey from Picard Season 2. And man, just an incredible cast of characters, and then an incredible cast of parallel characters as well too. So just all in all, again, it was a fantastic ride. It was a fun story, and I want to say too, I believe it to be my first Dayton Ward book, which is kind of cool because now I can go back through his history and read some of his other books. I know he did a lot of great short stories, which is something I'm getting into pretty heavily. So definitely looking forward to that. And I love how that this book literally made me want to go watch like 7 different Star Trek episodes. Right? I'm like, oh, let me go watch Best of Both Worlds again. Okay, and I got to watch Carbon Creek again now because I want to see this guy again. Maybe we'll watch a little bit of Deep Space Nine, you know what we're saying, right? So, you know, when a Star Trek book does that, you know, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. So, yes. Whenever I do one of these books, I always feel like Gimli, you know, when Gimli's in the Two Towers and like he's like, you know, ride out. Yes. You know what I'm saying? If you know, then you know. Listen, we're doing something different next time here on anyway, next time we come back to talk about a book, we're going to be talking about this book. Yes. Check this out. Now, just quick story, and then we're done here. I was in Sandusky, Ohio for my friend's birthday. We had a wonderful time. We were driving from the mall, going to the restaurant downtown. Driving down the road, I look over and I see this place, and I think it says Books, Beans, and Brews. I'm like, what? Like, hold on a second, buddy. We got to pull around. We got to turn around. Is this what I think it is? Is this a bookstore that also then sells like beer and coffee? Is that a thing? And yes, it was. It is such a thing. We stopped there. We talked to the owner for a little bit. We enjoyed a delicious beverage. And then she suggested this book. And it was not the first time that it had come up. So I'm like, man, that's a sign. I'm going to read this book. And then I'm going to pass it along to my friend who's going to read it. And then we can talk about it together. So it'll give me my Star Trek break, which I think I am definitely due for sure. And then we can come back strong after that, getting into some new stuff, so that'll be fun. But anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you all for listening. As always, my friends, live long and prosper. We'll see you guys in the next one. You have a good night.